All right, so the gas pedal is in there. It's my little creation. This little line right here. I utilized the 2 bolts that were the main gas pedal, the original gas pedal mount section, and then just went through the firewall and did the clip on the firewall and then hooked the cable on it. So basically it'll work off just the regular factory Dodge not harness, but the gas pedal cable. So it's pretty comfortable too. I noticed when I was driving my 2nd gen, back when it was a 2nd gen, I noticed when I was driving, the gas pedal was just it would wear my foot out because I didn't have cruise control. This little thingamajig here wasn't working, but anyway, I guess that's cruise control. But it wasn't working for some reason, and I noticed that after driving from Tennessee to Mississippi, where I bought the truck from, it was I mean, my foot was just cramping up. It was just crazy just doing that for so many hours in the exact same position. So where that pedal is on the Jeep now, it just seems like it's going to be a little bit more comfortable. So I didn't really like this idea. That's the steer, and this is Jeep, and then that goes into Dodge. It's not touching anything other than a couple of hoses right now that's just sitting on it. But so I didn't really like having to do heim joints, but apparently that's what people do. They just buy a heim joint. They buy this little piece of metal right here that, you know, you can connect the two together, and they just put them in the position and weld the spot right there and just adjust it up and down where they need it. It works very well. Everything's good. The heim joints have brand new. They have a little bit of slop in it, so I'm not exactly I'm not much of a fan in that. I don't want any slop in my steering. I am like very OCD about steering. I cannot stand gap in the steering wheel. Every Dodge I've gotten has had gap in the steering wheel, and that's the reason why, you know, I'm trying to put upgraded stuff on it and do it right. But anyway, the last guy I put, you know, a whole steering kit on here, and it's just pretty decent. I got a 4th gen kit I'm going to drop on there though, and doing that, the 4th gen, this mount right here is actually on the top, so the bar is going to have a little bit more of a straighter angle. And if I was to put a drop pitman on this thing, that bar would just be like straight line. And if it was straight line like that, you know, it would be, you know, a real smooth ride, I would think. There's not a whole lot of articulation if I did that. And then the track bar, the way I'm going to have to redo it because of the engine being so close right there. So, like, right now I can't even drive it because, I mean, I could drive it around a yard, but if I hit a bump, it could, you know, push real hard on the motor right there. That just would be stupid. So I'm not going to drive it until I fix that. But, because I had to move the motor 12 inches back and then drop it down like 2.5 inches or something. That's what happened with that. And then this brake line, I got to create some kind of support that goes across just to screw it to get it nice and tight where it needs to be. But that to the side, you know, the track bar, I'm thinking just more of a, you know, leave this angle as best as I can going like this. That way this joint right here is good and happy. And then weld a straight bar right now that's just going to go straight. And believe it or not, this is so far forward of this that I don't see there's any reason why this is going to hit. And I don't do anything super crazy, you know, off-road or anything. But if it does get ever close, then what I'm going to do is cut this mount, move it forward just a slight bit, because there's actually there's plenty of room here. You know, you might can see it in the video there. There's plenty of room there, so I have room to move forward. And this is with this piece almost straight line back. So I know that I got about 2.5, 3 inches worth of play room to move the track bar forward. And doing that will definitely get it away from the diff there, and that'll definitely get it away from the motor too. So I got to replace these. I got some right there. They're like super, basically just your normal 2nd gen 98, you know, kind of situation. This truck had an enormous power steering leak, and it was a hose that was bad, and it was just spraying all over the whole side of the truck and all kind of stuff. I put a new front seal in it. I did it exactly the way that people say to do it on YouTube. You know, I got the little spacer that goes over there and protects the seal as you put it on, and slide the sleeve off, all that good stuff. I got the proper depth hammer round thing, whatever you want to call it. I got that thing. I put that to the right depth. So front seal should be good. Killer dowel pin, interesting thing was I took this whole thing off to replace the, to actually put a killer dowel pin cover over it. And interestingly enough, someone had already done it. And the reason why this thing was just dumping oil all down the front, I mean, it wasn't pouring on the ground. It wouldn't really leave a drop unless you stayed there for a while, but it just looked so messy on the front. But the reason why I was doing that is all these screws were just barely tight, and then these middle ones right here were literally finger tight. I don't really know why. I could just unscrew it. So when I got in there to look at the killer dowel pin that someone else, the killer dowel pin cover thing, the little protector thing to keep the killer dowel pin from falling out, that was in there, but it was also finger tight. I could actually just, the bolt had already backed off to the point you could rattle the little piece around. That all that was about to fall out all down into the motor. That would have been probably catastrophic unless I was the most lucky man in the world. But anyway, so I put that in there, I retorqued it. It's good. It's torqued to my version of what I feel like is a good spec. I know there's probably actually torque specs on it, but I'm very, very good at that, you know, with making sure nothing leaks and making sure it's not over torqued. So I'm pretty good with that. I've been turning wrenches for pretty much my entire life since I was 3. So I'm 33 now. So that's 30 years worth of turning wrenches. The first thing was a go-kart. Anyway, that was me and my dad. So again, weather stripping. Got to put that on there. Hood latches came in yesterday. I'm actually excited to put them in there. I bought adjustable because I was going to use LJ, and LJ is basically a 2019 and up. Anyway, I was going to use LJ hood latches, and they, for some reason, had like enormous amount of space and play and stuff, so it won't clamp down very tight. So I'm not a big fan of that. I should have fixed this. I know. There's people going to probably kick me for it. And I didn't do it. I should have done it. I just didn't do it, but I should have done it. Anyway, that's from when people leave the door straps off and the door swings all the way forward, and this right there will contact that. Both sides are exactly the same way. I should have fixed it though. But they do sell these aluminum plate like things that go over this, and I've seen plastic ones too. I'm hoping they're aluminum. That's out there, but if I do that, I would do, you know, black and then put that over it. But to fix that later on would be simple tape off and then Bondo or bed, you know, body filler, whatever, and then repaint that after doing a sealer. So if I want to do that in the future, I will. These are just some plastic stick-on things. You know, it gives a little bit of a flair to it, but you know, I'm not a big fan of the old, you know, sticker plastic stuff, but it does kind of look neat. Got to paint that. As far as the body, as it comes back, there's really not much I have to do at this point right here. Bed rail caps, that way it fixes the rough grinding marks for me where I did this. I'm not that great with Bondo. I didn't use any on this whole thing, except for right here where the weld seam was. You can see a little bit. Again, I'm not the most perfect Bondo person. I'm more like, I like to work with metal, you know what I mean? But with metal and the grinder in your hand, it's very hard to get perfection with something like that. So I tried my hardest, but you know, I'm gonna have to do a bed rail cap, and when I do that, it'll cover it up. I'm also bed lined to that line right there, so that'll help cover that issue up. But that's just part of things, you know. When you hand make something, there's gonna be little blemishes and things like that are just gonna stand out and be issues and things like that, and that's just part of it. You know, like this right here, there's a large gap because I had to stretch the cab, or the hardtop, and the whole tail section. But anyway, that whole entire gap right there, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do there. And I know they sell weather stripping that actually pokes on the end of a glass. So what I might do, since this is actually about 1.5 inches or inch high, probably about 1 inch. So what I might do is drop this down, make these hinges a little bit longer, and then just put that stuff all the way around it, and that'll seal this window in there where it has, you know, it's sealed right now, but it's just barely sealed. But, you know, it's just little things like that I got to figure out. Because used to, this was obviously a JK, so this folded, you know what I mean? So it'd flip up and down, and it still does, but, you know, I'm not going to leave it that way. Again, got to fix the paint over there. This little piece, I got one over there that's just the regular JK, but I'm thinking I'm going to go with one with a door. I noticed the door ones open up and they have these holes where you can actually screw it instead of just snap it on there. So I think I'm going to do that and actually screw it on. That way it stays on there. It will snap real well to this though. I got this hole almost right where it needs to be. And then again, I got to weld this situation here. I cut it so I could make this line up because I had it lined like running down to the bottom there. But I'm going to have to weld that further up so it doesn't contact the you know, the gas fuel neck there. Interior, center console, got to make that mount in place. And all I got to do for that to mount in place is just cut the hole where it's like a manual. If I had a tan already set up perfect to the color match this whole Jeep kind of center console that was manual, then I would drop that in there and go with it. But you know, that is just one extra little thing I got to do. Seat bottom, it's the only one I got to replace. All the other ones are perfect. They're just dusty and dirty. So that'll be easy. They sell that on eBay. Hopefully it'll come in, you know, real close to the match. Carpet for the Jeep is made so it just sits down in there in sections. So kind of like floor mats for a Jeep, you know. So I just got to pop those back in there. They're all piled in the back right behind the seat there. All that's done though. Gas pedal, brakes, clutch, all that's ready to roll. It'll rip right now. It'll go. But again, I got to deal with the track bar. And then the transfer case. I got all this on there. I got this one-piece drive shaft. There's a lever actually on this transfer case that needs to be able to go to a selector up here. And the Jeep uses a cable. And I kind of like the idea of doing that, because if I do that, then I can run that cable to the transfer case and it'll be a real factory setup. But if I don't do that, you know, I have to figure out how to get the Dodge shifter in there. Got a couple more things to do, but to actually drive it, let's see, brakes, lights, it charges, electric fan. I gotta hook the relay up, so I'm just gonna make it always cut on with a key. When it cuts on, it'll cut the relay on to make the electric fan always go. That way I just know when I turn the key, if I don't hear it, then I know there's something wrong, I need to fix it. So I gotta do that. And then the temp gauge, I gotta put that in there, because right now that one's not hooked up. I don't know if I just knew what prongs are, you know, what prongs go to what on the gauge cluster, if it's even like that. If I knew which ones were which, then I could figure out how to wire, you know, all this stuff up and get it very factory looking as far as electronics. But, you know, I don't. So right now I'm just getting by with a screw-in gauge, and I'm just going to put a gauge on the pillar. It actually comes in on the side, kind of like you see on Dodges. There's a pillar gauge set up that goes right here, and there's only 2 that I could find. I wanted a 3 because then I could just put more in there. But got a pyro meter coming too, because there's no intercooler. I really need to watch that. I'm not real familiar with what's going to happen with no intercooler. And y'all, for real, never mind the chaos. This is just because I have started this thing like literally like 3.5 weeks ago, something like that, and I have just been firing to get done with this thing. You know,